Hello, we are so happy to be here with a dear friend and colleague, and soon to be former student, former supervisor, close to the end of the process, a new superstar among many superstar sex therapists in Atlanta, Treva Sexton.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, welcome. Really, thanks for being here.
Of course.
Yes, I'm honored to be here.
We said that at the same time, so that's good. It's mutual. No, truly, it's been a joy to work with you and watch you blossom into a natural, wonderful sex therapist.
Well, thank you very much. I've working with my population. My practice is LGBT friendly, so I've really been enjoying working with that population.
Mm-hmm. And I know you also, we talked a lot about that you enjoy working with younger couples, but also have been dealing with a lot of over 40 couples. So a little later we'll get to talking about some of those dating after 40 issues.
Mm-hmm.
But we also talk very boldly and honestly about a desire to focus specifically on African American and other women of color who are plus size, and further dating and sexuality challenges. So,
yes.
yeah.
General.
Right.
Which seems to be actually an interesting time to come in and focus on something like that, because it seems like finally there's some acknowledgement that plus size women in general, plus size women of color in particular, are real sexual human beings.
Oh yeah, we're real.
I mean, but it seems to be like a recent discovery.
No, yeah, we can't help but notice that, at least, you know, in the media and in pop culture and in music, Black women, especially plus size Black women, have a way of owning and strutting their sexuality that white women only dream of, right? How do you explain this? Well, I'll just stop myself there. How do you explain this? Is it real or just a perception?
I think it's a perception, really. I think a lot of us are faking it till we make it. You know, back in the Monique, remember the comedian Monique?
Sure, yeah, of course.
She empowered plus size women, and I think it just kept going from there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely, you know, a difference in our body types and what our men maybe are attracted to that you don't necessarily find in other cultures. So even down to when I was in high school, I went to a majority white high school, and I had a lot of body images. I was always heavier, just not necessarily overweight. I was just heavier than my counterparts. And I had a friend tell me one time, he was like, I bet if you had gone to a Black high school, you would have felt totally different about your body. Because, you know, that's the culture. Like, we just like more, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, interesting what you said about faking it till you make it. There's this question like, is it confidence or defiance in a way? You know, if we look at it again in this context that we've been focusing on a lot, as we all, unfortunately not everyone, but you know, everybody has been focusing on Black Lives Matter and this topic of intersectionality. When we add all these layers and a history of you know, bodies being literally owned, what does it make you think about, like when you said growing up in that environment, in terms of all these levels of intersection?
It was I will say, it was very difficult for me growing up. It had a lot of, it affected my self-esteem. And so I remember going through my younger years, just kind of free sexing it, if that's what you want to call it. And I can't say if that was the college life or if that was more related to myself. But I did have my parents. My mother is a little, she's thinner, she's shaped different. And so it was always this thing about covering your body, you know, not letting people see, you know, the extra. And then I think I just gained a sense of freedom. Like, it was really more of like a bucket attitude. Like, this is me. It's not going to change overnight. So I had to own it.
Nice.
And it's an interesting place that you got to that place. And I wonder how many other women, particularly plus size women of color, that are using their sexuality, not expressing their sexuality, but using their sexuality to try to prove something, perhaps to themselves or to somebody else.
I can definitely say for me, I became more sexually aware. I got a divorce in 2011, and that's when I was introduced to the lifestyle, swingers, polyamorous lifestyle, and I just enjoyed the feeling of being free. And I'm not sure if everybody gets that opportunity to feel that, but it is amazingly freeing, and it gives you the power to accept who you are.
So how did this bring you to training to become a sex therapist? So just want to share that and help other women who've been there?
Well, initially I just wanted to learn more. I just wanted to learn more about my body. I wanted to learn more about what an orgasm really was, what I was not experiencing. And I think I owe that to other people. I owe that to other women to become empowered in that sense. I had a lady that came to me, and she was saying, well, you know, sex is just for him. And I was like, what? Wait a minute. What are we missing?
Right.
And so I find that a lot, like in a lot of couples, women don't know their bodies. They don't know what it's supposed to feel like. They don't know how to ask for what they want, and because they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. We don't tell the truth a lot. It's just so many things that are involved in that. And I think the fear of rejection and being criticized for being a plus size woman kind of took a toll on my sex life over the years, where I just wanted to feel accepted and not really owning it. So now I own it.
There you go.
So, and if it's not too personal, please feel free not to answer. But I'm very interested in how you made that leap, you know, and talking about how through most of your life, feeling self-conscious, feeling, you know, in some cases ashamed, lack of confidence and all of that. And then you say when you got divorced, on the other side of that, you ended up sort of on the opposite side. And that seemed to be quite a leap that you were able to make. How were you able to do that?
So I think just exposing myself more to that environment where women were more accepted. Now, the whole lifestyle thing wasn't necessarily for me, but it gave me a sense of freedom. So I've been to parties where people are walking around nude, and it just being in, I guess, a like-minded setting helped me kind of shed my fear of exposing my body and what other people may think. Because really, you go and it's just regular people,
right,
you know, just enjoying themselves. And so I guess it kind of, going back to the overthinking, you know, thinking that people are watching us and looking at us all the time, and they're really not. So just kind of getting comfortable in that crowd of people.
Right.
So you had that sense of, at least seeing that there are people who are doing things that you wanted to connect with.
Yes.
And when we look, I think, and again, I don't want to overgeneralize. I think it's too easy to do sometimes. But for many other women of color, and particularly plus size women of color, what is there for them to see a connection to? That's kind of what I was saying before. It seems to be like this is a new revelation that women, you know, larger women are sexual beings. So, you know, what is it that a lot of these women can look to try to connect with?
I think it is, and I don't know if I'm answering this the right way, but I think it's
I don't know if I'm asking it the right way.
Society just kind of accepting the regular body type, the average body type, and accepting the curves, and we're not Bo Derek, you know what I mean, or we're not Twiggy. And it's so many plus size models on Instagram, so we have a lot of positive reinforcement showing we can be sexy and we can wear lingerie, and it doesn't have to look crazy on us as long as we get the right size. And I've really just been pushing myself to be more comfortable. I did a photo shoot with a guy that does BDSM. It's been a while back, but I think that was one of my first leaps. And I just let go. I just kind of let go.
Nice.
The divorce was free.
Yeah. So how do you bring other women along on that road to try to reach that same place of acceptance and liberation and celebration of their body?
So while I want to focus on plus size women based on my past experiences, I think it's more of an all women kind of thing. I think it's trying to get women to understand that sex is for just as much for us as it is for men. And I don't really know. I just kind of push people along.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking about that for years now, that so much of sex therapy is just myth busting and script rewriting and
right.
Permission giving.
Yeah.
Right? Permission to have desires, permission to want to feel pleasure.
And I'm glad you said that. I think that's a great answer, that absolutely is all women. I mean, look, if supermodels deal with body dysmorphia and eating disorders, what do the rest of women got to hope for? Right?
Right.
That's the kind of craziness.
Yeah, I think women, we just struggle as a whole for acceptance in our own bodies. And we just have that, I keep emphasizing this overthinking kind of thing. And I think as I've gotten older, it's just been more like the Nike. I just got to do it. So as I've gotten older, I've just been doing more things and getting out of my comfort zone and introducing those things to other women. Even it doesn't have to always be sexual. It has to do with understanding what your discomfort is and how you can overcome that. So I've been doing stuff like hiking, sort of, and just things that I know will make me uncomfortable. But I know that in order for me to keep going, I'm going to have to overcome things that are going to make me uncomfortable. And so along with building my practice, that is kind of what I take with me. I take that energy with me.
Yeah. Some of it else, if I could pivot a little bit, I know some of those other obstacles are kind of political. And we talked the other day, I thought it was kind of, a little disheartening to hear that, a lot of the reality on the ground that doesn't necessarily match a lot of the political rhetoric. In other words, a lot of resources still missing. And there's still a lot, you were saying how it usually ends up being moms who get the burden.
Yeah, and that's just a personal experience, and I hear that across the board. I don't know what's going on with our dads. I don't know what is going on, and I don't know if that is across the board either. Men just kind of not being present for our boys. And I don't know if it's a selfish kind of thing or what is going on, but it's definitely taking a toll on our community as a whole. Like, we see the kids out there marching and that kind of thing, but they still don't have the tools they need in order to be successful. They don't have the communication skills. They don't have the anger management skills. And so I have been on this thing lately, on this soapbox about where are our men? Where are they? And we want to support our men, but it becomes really difficult. You know, it becomes really difficult to support people who are not giving you that support back.
Mm.
And I
Yeah,
understand, you know, they have their own plight. And so we need support in different areas. And I don't think a lot of us have the communication skills in order to be able to do that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that also, comes from kind of a pervasive, and this is not just any particular community, but a lack of the intimacy skills,
Mm-hmm.
a lack of the self-awareness skills.
Yes.
That's such a real big question. Where are the men? And, we've had conversation, Ricky and I, before, and in previous shows, talking about, number one, Black Lives Matter has got to be more than just something written on a shirt and something that you yell in the street. It's got
Right.
to be something that is lived. And we've got to look even within Black communities. It's also got to be all of these lives matter.
Absolutely.
So it's not just the people who are making noise. Okay, the dads raising their kids, sons in particular, but we also talk a lot about the role of dads in their daughters' lives.
Right.
Where is that communication? I often look with a lot of Black and African men in particular, and that's often where I do find myself asking that question of how do we sort of balance or draw that line between empowerment and defiance?
Yeah, it's a question that I've constantly been asking myself over the past couple of weeks or so, because I have so many young men so I used to work with the Department of Family and Children Services as a therapist with some of those clients. And it's just a common theme across the board that even with my own children, their father isn't present. And I think as they were growing up, it was more about he did not get what he wanted, and so he wasn't going to do anything. I don't know. I don't want to speak for him, but that's just kind of how it was perceived. That, okay, it's all or nothing. So if it's not all, then I take my hands off. Very difficult to communicate. It's very difficult to communicate.
Yeah. So, and I'm so glad that you're, bringing up these specific points, because again, when we talk rhetorically and we speak about the systemic changes and we speak about, the problems in the structure and in the system, we're not talking enough about what people can actually do in their own lives, in their own homes. What can they do to improve the next generation?
Right.
This has got to be this constant evolution of our individual lives, much less the systems that we live under.
And I totally agree. Like, everybody has to put the work in. Everybody has to stop and look at themselves and even realize where they fell short. And accountability is so difficult for people. Saying maybe I should do something different. Maybe I didn't do things, or give it 100%. That seems to be the toughest obstacle for people lately. And that's just in general. Maybe I should have looked at something different. I ask my children a lot, what could I have done if there was anything? And sometimes they'll have things to say and sometimes they won't. But I think allowing our children to let us know what they're missing and really, really understand their thoughts and their views. So many, I remember growing up, was do as I say, not as I do, that kind of thing. And I think our community maybe have grown up with that, but we definitely have to change that. We definitely have to change that and listen.
I'm just sitting here thinking, I don't ever recall ever hearing a parent ask their kids, how am I doing? Can I do anything different or better?
Yeah.
I think that's a first for me.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, that really is.
My son, we went through our challenges, especially when he was younger. I think he needed that male bonding, and I think he was looking for it, but he also he's also ADHD for sure. Not one of those little speculating. He's ADHD for sure. And so I think his behaviors kind of created this environment where he was only accepted in a certain group of kids. And those kids didn't have rules, and those kids didn't have, you know, structure. And that, I think he just kind of thought that was fun and that was amazing. And I don't know, you just kind of, I mean, when they say they want to go outside, I mean, do you keep them inside? I don't know what to do. You know? And I think a lot of parents are faced with that. Like, once your kids get to a certain age, they're developing and deciding what they want to be and what they want to do. But I don't know, it's just this balance, this weird balance that you kind of gotta talk. You gotta talk.
Got
Yeah.
it. Absolutely.
You gotta remember they're people. They're not extensions of us.
Yes.
Mhm. Right.
Yes.
They're not
So
toys.
I find myself asking, especially the kids that I work with at the high school, they're good kids. They're just in circumstances or situations that were out of their control. Some of them are homeless. Some of them became parents at really, really young ages. I have a young man, I love this kid to death because he's so outgoing and energetic. But he's 17 and he has a 4-year-old son.
Oh, wow.
Like, that's, you're thinking 13 and a dad? What can you teach anybody?
Yeah.
So I don't think we're really looking at the root cause of a lot of these issues. I know in my community, we're all about how things look and how they present, and our content can go lacking. I have reached out to a lot of men lately trying to find support for our young men. And it's just, everybody's kind of falling through the cracks.
Yeah.
Yeah. They look good on Instagram though.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Wow. It's a lot of challenges, a lot of challenges just within our community that we have to overcome, and then continue to try to overcome other issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let me ask you this, because we got to start to wrap up.
Okay.
On the bigger picture politically, in terms of civil rights, do you feel like it's different this time? Do you feel like there's a shift happening? At least maybe if we can get that orange lunatic out of the White House.
Agent Orange, huh?
Yeah.
He's
more toxic.
Oh my God. It's just like, I felt like somewhere, two guys are laughing their asses off because they knew he was gonna mess up. But I don't think they knew he was gonna mess up as much as he has.
But I mean, just among the people in this country, the feeling of this movement, does it feel different this time?
Well, I'm going to tell you something that really hit me, because when all this first happened, when the George Floyd video came out, I was kind of in denial. And I think that's more the therapist in me and the fact that I've grown to care about all kinds of people. And so I think I just refused to believe that somebody has that in them to be able to do that to another person. And I finally watched it. That night I could not sleep. It was just my heart. It just, because I have children. I have a son and I have a rowdy son. You know what I mean? So I know what his appearance looks like.
Right.
And so he's a walking stereotype. I tell him all the time. But I mean, that's what he likes. And so I had to accept that part of him. He likes it because that's what he likes. But somebody asked what the difference was this time. And I said, I think most of us have never seen someone killed in front of them. And I think that was the turning point. That was the eye opener. Like, this really did happen. This is not a thing that you just kind of hear about, dismiss it. Oh, they were in the middle of a drug deal, or no, you could see someone being killed in front of your eyes. It's crazy. And so I think that particular thing was traumatic for everybody. And so I think that was the turning point. My daughter is Sister Soldier. She went out and started riding, and not riding, marching. She went out, let me not say that. She went out and started marching. And while I was afraid for her, I understood that she felt like she needed to be a part of it. I think as the younger generations grow, they're more accepting. And I think that is where the change is happening. Yeah.
And on that idea, because again, another ongoing theme for what we do, not just with this show, but everything that we do, is about sexual health and improving sexual health. And you know, we hear a lot of talk, especially in our field, around Black sexuality. So I'm wondering, again, given everything that's going on right now, and including given the historical fact that Black masculinity has always been one of the greatest threats to society at large.
Right.
White society.
White to society, but not just white society. It's kind of society at large, even among communities of color. So where are we headed? What does the future look like for Black sexuality? What does healthy sexuality look like? Not just for plus size women,
Right.
for guys, because body issues are now very, very common among males. And, you know, especially with marginalized communities who are trying to just achieve a seat at the table, much less progress to success and all that kind of stuff. So what are we looking at? Where are we headed? What is this picture gonna look like?
Well, you know, I think it's really interesting that you say that. And do you mind if I ask you a question?
No,
Of course not.
So why do you feel that Black men pose a threat? Like, why is that? Because I've been involved with mostly Black men all my life, but I've also engaged with white men as well. So for me, a guy is a guy. Like, it was all the same. But I don't understand what the threat is.
Yeah, what I'm looking, I couldn't identify. I'm just looking at as a larger social phenomenon, and we can speak historically in this country that
what's been woven into the thread, the history of this country, right, all the way back from. We were talking with James Wadley about Birth of a Nation.
Right.
It's been set up that, you know, you got to protect your frail white daughters from the raping Black man.
Right.
And that's what this whole, you know, extension of slavery, since it was never quite abolished.
Right. So, you know, to see, and that, you know, and I've often, you know, looked at empowering Black masculinity does seem to be threatening.
I think it relates to the criminalizing of Black men. That
I think so.
Happened since slavery.
And then it wasn't, now just out of curiosity, it wasn't just Black men, was it? They were, people kind of did the same thing with Asian men, as far as, is that not true?
Not so much. No, I don't think Asian men have ever been seen as a threat. It's pretty much been Black and brown men.
There's been different threats, you know, like Asians, and the Yellow Horde was going to take over and bring their opium and destroy the country, or anti-Mexican sentiment. A lot of people don't even know the reason why we call cannabis marijuana is because it's the Spanish name and it was intended to stoke more anti-Mexican sentiment, right? But there's something in our history that's consistent. I watched that Netflix documentary 13th, and it spun me, right? Just how we've gone from slavery to mass incarceration, and it's basically all just language change.
It is,
right?
It is. To be honest, I don't know where we go, you know, from here. I know that my work is going to be with my community and us building better relationships in order to build better families and build better support for our children. And I think, and that is just communication. It's learning how to communicate. It's learning how to use your words. And so many of us do not have that skill.
Can I share with you, since you just said that, I'll share with you the motto from my nonprofit institute for many, many years.
Yes.
Stronger relationships build stronger families, which build stronger communities, which build a stronger world.
And that's absolutely true. That's absolutely
exactly
true.
The same sentiment. And I think that is where we start. I think you're absolutely right.
No matter who we are.
So glad you're doing this.
Yep.
Yeah, so good.
So
to have
glad
you
you're out
on.
there.
And we're gonna
I'm
have
hanging on.
your contact information right behind the interview, so folks in Atlanta and well, now that everybody's working online,
Yes.
all over the Peach State, will be able to get in touch with you.
Well,
And,
thank you.
yeah, we really
Yes.
thanks so much for taking the time out.
Ricky is so amazing. I just wish you like knew like how honored I am to be here right now.
Go
It's
on.
such a pleasure for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Treva Sexton, sex therapist, Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you.
Thank
again.
you. Stay well.